Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Kris. This is a donated request from YouBuyWeRush. What does a new Muslim need to know about Tawhid? Am I pronouncing that right? Tawhid. That's what it was. Tawhid. Tawhid. And intentions. I was told what that was. Oh. Let me get a little refresher here. Absolute monotheism, the absolute oneness of God. Okay, and I appreciate it. MHOSNI 86, Muhashni 86. Okay, I'm busy. Do you mind? Thank you. Okay, I went back a second, big second. So we're going to go ahead and go here, and we'll go another 15 minutes, and then, the video. Oh, there's a thanks button on the channel. You can donate, subscribe if you'd like to, and thumbs up, bare minimum. That's all I ask. Ready for the video? Let's do it.
So Sheikh Fawzani goes on to say, حتى يبني أعماله عليها وذلك لا يكون إلا بتعلمها من أهل العلم وأهل البصيرة الذين تلقوها عن سلف هذه الأمة. He says, so this is by knowing the sound and correct belief system, and also knowing what nullifies it and contradicts it, so one can base their actions upon it, and this can only occur by learning it from the people of knowledge. Learning it from the people of knowledge, those people who want to teach you Quran and Sunnah, and the people who have insight, who have learned it from the Salaf of this Ummah. And we'll discuss who the Salaf were, inshallah ta'ala, in the upcoming chapter. So Allah said to his Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He said, فَعْلَمْ, He commanded him, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. Know that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, then seek forgiveness for your sins. Know that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah, then seek forgiveness for your sins. So look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look how Allah commanded Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with first knowing the Aqidah. Because La ilaha illallah, the statement which we discussed briefly last week, in reality this is the Aqidah. Allah said to his Prophet Muhammad, فَعَلَمْ, know first, أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. This entails what? Negation and affirmation. Now, that you affirm worship for Allah alone, that He's the only one deserving of all worship, and that you negate the right of worship from everyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is in essence the Aqidah. This is in essence the belief system and the foundation of the belief system. So this is what Allah commanded Prophet Muhammad ﷺ first, and then He said, وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ, then seek forgiveness for your sins. Imam Bukhari, that great Imam that we spoke about earlier, that 3rd century scholar, he said, he placed the chapter heading in his book. He said, بَابٌ الْعِلْمُ قَبْلَ الْقَوْلِ وَالْعَمَلِ. He said chapter, and he brought this verse, which is in Surah Muhammad, verse 19. He said, knowledge precedes speech and action. فَبَدَأَ بِالْعِلْمِ قَبْلَ الْقَوْلِ وَالْعَمَلِ. Why? Because Allah, in this verse, He began with what? Knowledge first, before speech and action. So before a person speaks, or before they do any actions, then it is a must that they have ilm. They have knowledge, and the head of all branches of knowledge, and the most important of them is knowledge of the Aqidah, knowledge of the belief system. So the Islamic belief to other fields of knowledge and actions is equivalent to the foundation of a building or the roots of a tree. So just as the building will not stand except upon a foundation, you can't build a building upon a flimsy premise or a flimsy foundation, or a foundation which is not sturdy, it will fall. So just as the building will not stand except on a strong foundation, A tree will not stand except upon strong roots. Then similarly, the actions of an individual and his knowledge will be of no benefit unless it is built upon the correct belief. So again, the aqidah is at the status of the foundation of a building. As it relates to Islam, the aqidah is at the status of the foundation of a building. A person must have a strong aqidah, and upon that they build their actions and they build their knowledge. Focusing on matters of belief has precedence over other affairs such as food and drink and clothing, because it is through the correct belief, the correct aqidah, that the believer lives a truly happy life, and his soul becomes pure, and his actions are correct. His acts of obedience are accepted, and he is raised in degrees before Allah, the Mighty Majestic. However, if the belief of the aqeedah is faulty, or is corrupt, or if it is absent, then this will have the opposite effect upon all of his affairs, all of his actions. So therefore, a corrupt belief is a source of ruin for the individual as it pertains to his actions and his mannerisms, and it debases and destroys him. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, who was a renowned 8th century scholar of Islam, he said, additionally, those who oppose Ahl Hadith, the people of Hadith, meaning that those who cling to the narrations of Prophet Muhammad and they adhere to them and they adhere to those narrations in all affairs of the religion. He said those who oppose them, they're expected to have corrupt actions, either due to an evil belief, hypocrisy, a sickness in the heart, or a weakness of faith. He said the abandonment of the obligations, transgression of the legislated boundaries, disdain and disregard for the ordained rights, and hardness of the heart is found among them, which is visible to everyone. And many of their scholars, their shuyukh, are accused of serious offenses. So here again, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he's clarifying those who oppose the people of the Sunnah, the people of Hadith, and those who do not base their actions upon the correct aqeedah and the correct belief system, then they're expected to have corrupt actions, and you'll see this clearly upon them. If the belief is sound and firm, and based upon the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then a person will be upright, because the basis of piety and uprightness is present within him. Because the basis of piety and uprightness is present within him. Just like Allah mentions in His book, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا كَلِمَةً طَيِّبَةً كَشَجَرَةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ أَصْلُهَا ثَابِتٌ وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. Have you not seen how Allah sets forth a parable, an example? A goodly word as a goodly tree, whose root is firmly fixed and his branches reach to the sky. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, He's made the fundamental matters of faith, meaning the aqeedah, and its foundations, which is belief, equivalent to the roots that the tree stands upon. Again, this is a verse showing the importance of the aqeedah. A goodly word, which is La ilaha illallah, is like a goodly tree whose roots is firmly fixed in the ground and its branches reach up to the sky. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the fundamental matters of faith and its foundations, which is belief, equivalent to the roots that the tree stands upon. Thus, if the root is firm, then this tree is closer to completeness in terms of its growth, development, and the deliciousness of its fruits, depending upon the correctness of this foundation. So again, this is important. If a person's aqeedah is sound and is correct, and a person's Islam is built upon a firm and correct belief system, then they'll see the fruits and benefits of their Islam. They'll see the fruits and the benefits of their Islam. Because the aqeedah is based upon giving Allah His rights. And the greatest right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He be worshipped alone. And that no partners be associated with Him in worship. Now, so if a person's foundation is firm, and a person worships Allah as He commanded, and stays away from shirk, and stays away from bid'ah innovations, and other than that from the prohibited matters, and that aqeedah is firm, then a person will see the growth of their Islam, and they'll see the completeness of their Islam, if Allah wills. Again, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he also mentions, he says, as for Ahl Sunnah wal Hadith, it is not known that any of their scholars, nor their righteous common folk, ever renounced their doctrine and creed. They never renounced their aqeedah, their belief. Rather, they were the most patient of the people upon that. Even if they were tested with all types of tests and trials, with all types of tribulations. And we can even give an example to what we're going through right now with the coronavirus crisis. Those who have correct belief and correct iman, alhamdulillah, they're patient during these trials. They're patient. And they know that whatever befalls them and whatever afflicts them, then it wasn't going to pass them. It was something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed upon them. And they're pleased.
Just tell a little side story. It's not related to religion, but it is. So my dad, I had an aunt named Vicky. I don't know when it came about. It was in the 90s. Maybe late 80s. And I don't know how it came about, but she became like extreme, diehard religious. Fine. It was. I'm sorry. I completely drew a blank. My uncle DT died in September 20th of 1992. He had it was cancer, leukemia. There it was. And I've told this story before, but it was really bad. You know, he was at home. It was pretty much like hospice. And this will come back to coronavirus, but just bear with me. So my aunt, my uncle, he's in bed and he wakes up and he was on morphine, you know, and after a while it just wasn't doing anything. He was really suffering. And it was terrible to see him. I was 11, 12, so maybe even 13, so I was too young to really appreciate what was happening. I knew he was dying, but it didn't, like, death didn't really mean anything to me. That was the first person that died that I knew. So I've told this story before. He woke up, everyone came into the room to see how he was, and he was just kind of like, and they had the lights and they were really dim, and he's looking around at everybody, kind of opens up his eyes. All of a sudden he starts closing his eyes and he's looking off into the corner, and he kind of does this, and he's like, if there was a flashlight in his face, and he just stops and he looks and he smiles and he just nods. He lays down, closes his eyes, takes his last breath, dies. And so my Aunt Vicky became super religious because she believed that the angels had come and taken him. I wasn't there, but everyone that was there all tells the exact same story. They all believe he was taken. Fine. Not doubting that at all. That's not the point. So my aunt becomes diehard religious, my mom dies, she tells my dad, makes, I think, shit comments about how, yeah, your father, or John, you're gonna burn in hell for eternity because you're not religious. And I'm just like, why don't you shut up? It's like, no, don't. Everyone has their own journey. If that's his journey, fine, but you're not better than him, so just shut up. Like, that's just, say that. But my aunt, coronavirus comes around, she's working for the church. She wants to go to church to pray. Nobody can tell her she can't do it. That's what she wants to do. The minister of the church was ordered by the state, can't have gatherings, or you can't have gatherings over X amount of people. So he goes to other states and does sermons where the rules are a little more relaxed. Comes back, gets a hold of my aunt, says, we're going to open up the church. I don't care. I don't care. Let them come close us down. My aunt goes in, and one of the things she said to my dad is, we're going there because we're going to have this sermon because, the only people who are getting sick and dying are people who are sinners, homosexuals, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only those people who are getting sick. Right, gotcha. Tom Hanks got sick. He survived. I'm pretty sure he's straight. But whatever. Okay. Sinner? I don't know. He's a descendant of Abraham Lincoln, so I gotta say he comes from pretty good lineage. So, but I don't know him personally. So, my aunt goes to church, defies the rules, ends up getting COVID because the minister Sorry, I swore I just heard somebody say something. That was weird. I'm alone. Shouldn't have heard a voice. So anyways, the minister came back, got the whole congregation. I think it was like 80% of the people, they all returned. 80% of them came down with COVID because this minister had caught it in another state, showed up at a big thing. 80% got sick. My aunt was one of them. It took like 10 days or so to affect her. She was feeling like she ends up collapsing. She had some medical issues, so she should have been careful. She collapses, goes to the hospital, has fluid in her lungs, and they're just like, yeah, scar tissue, she's not going to survive. So she's in the hospital for 3 days, and my cousin had to pull the plug. His father had died like 3 or 4 years before, so he's got a little window where he lost both of his parents. He pulls the plug. He ends up getting sick from COVID as well, so he's not able to go in the hospital to visit her. And I think about what he was saying about being patient, and I think that so many people were just so defiant and wanted to do what they wanted to do because they didn't care about what anything else said or anything else was. And a lot of people didn't come back. Jimmy Carr has a joke where he says, how does it go? I don't remember. I'm going to butcher it anyways. But he's just like, is everybody, glad to be out of COVID or something like that. And audience claps, and he's like, yeah, it's what a lot of the, you know, a lot of the survivors said that. You know, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's true. Yeah, you know, but yeah, she just was defiant, and so was that church. And of those 80% that got sick, I think 30 people overall, I don't know the percentage, but like 30 to 35 people ended up dying. They were all older people. And it's like they were all just so determined, this is what we're going to do. And I would love to have asked them, like, what your defiance didn't protect you. You know, like, she's just been safe about it, been smart about it. Anyways, that's why I paused it. It just reminded me of my aunt, who just... And look, not to say that if she didn't go to church, she wouldn't have come down with it 4 months later, from whatever, you know. Not to say that she wouldn't have died eventually, but she just didn't care.
عجبا لأمر المؤمن. How amazing is the affair of the believer? Indeed, all of his affairs is good. That is not, and that is for none other than the believer. إن أصابته السراء شكر فكان خيرا له. If good befalls him, he's thankful, and that's better for him. وإن أصابته الضراء صبر فكان خيرا له. And if some difficulties befell him or her, they're patient, and that's better for them. So this shows again the importance of the aqeedah. When trials and tribulations come, a person flees back, and they return back, and they resort back to their belief system. But you'll find those who don't have a correct belief system. You'll find they put their trust in the doctors, and they put their trust in the scientists, and they put their trust in these individuals who can't bring them any benefit nor ward off from them any harm. But you find them busying themselves with conspiracy theories and other than that. The Muslim remains patient and resorts back to their belief system. So again, this right here shows these words of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala are appropriate for that which we're going through right now. You find them the most patient of the people upon their creed and upon their belief, even if they're tested with all types of tests and tried with all types of tribulations. So compare this with the wavering of the people of theological rhetoric. Those who base their belief upon suspicions and upon philosophies and things like that. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, Ahlul Kalam, meaning those who base their religion upon theological rhetoric, suspicions and philosophies and things like that, they're the people who waver most from one doctrine to another. They're found to be certain about a matter in one place, and then certain about its exact opposite in another place. Why? Because it's not based upon the Quran and Sunnah. It's based upon the statements and opinions invented by mankind. He says, and they declare the one who asserts this to be a disbeliever. They are found to be certain about a matter in one place, and then certain about its exact opposite in another place, and they declare the one who asserts this to be a disbeliever, and this is a proof of their lack of certainty. So you find the people of philosophy and the people of speculation and those who base their belief systems upon that, you find them always wavering, not firm upon one thing, because it's not based upon the sound belief in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down. And inshallah ta'ala, with this we'll end. Next week we'll continue in chapter 4, Tawhid and its types. Sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.
I'm going to go ahead and stop it 1 minute earlier, just because I don't want to go 40 seconds into chapter 4. If I knew the chapters in advance, I would have stopped them there, but regardless. Yeah, I'll just stop it here, a minute short. I gotta say, came home early, and this one right here was not downstairs where she normally is. She was upstairs in the bed. Didn't hear me. Was calling her. Nope. She was sleeping in the bed, snoring away. I could hear it as I was walking up the steps. In the bed, head on my pillow, just and then she does a so I peeked in and I said, "Are you okay?" And she shot up and started doing this, giving a little snarl face, doing all that. She was ready to fight. This is Kelby. Alright, I'm going to put you down. Okay, we're going to end this video here, and we will come back with part 6. That's right. But until then, you have a good day, have a good night.